Hello there, people of the internet. How's everybody doing today? Shout out to GOA and FPC. We need them right now more than ever. Go ahead and go check them out. They're definitely fighting the good fight. So, if you are here, you're probably hoping that I'm going to say something along the lines of, hey, guess what? Sanctions have been lifted in some, third world country with the United States. They found a tremendously large batch of Mosin Nagants, like several million of them just laying in a warehouse, and they're being sold in the US here for like $80 a piece. Congratulations. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. I don't think that's ever going to be the case, because now people know the price of what Mosin Nagants will actually sell for. These things sell for $300, $350 every single day of the week. So even if there is a massive surplus of them that come into the United States, why sell for anything less than that? They might bump it down a little bit lower, like $275, maybe $250, but I don't think we're ever going to see the $80 price point that we've seen before. So, right off the bat, starting off, I'm going to say cheap military surplus due to vast quantities of surplus importation is definitely something that is a thing of the past. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. As much as it disappoints you, it also disappoints me. People just know what people are going to pay for these rifles right here. So these types of rifles, like I said, cheap surplus of these types of rifles are a thing of the past. Of course, these rifles are going to be around basically for my lifetime, probably for your lifetime, depending on how old you are and how long you're going to live. Unless there's like a 2-year-old watching my videos, I think it's a safe bet to say these are probably going to be around for both of our lifetime and then some. Now, it's all a matter of the cheap surplus. That's what people care about. Of course, these rifles are going to exist, but people want them cheaply. They want good quality rifles for not a lot of money. That's basically what surplus shopping is. You get yourself something collectible too, with a historical relevance, or something that is pop culturally smiled upon. And people want to do that with, not having to spend a lot of money. That is where the surplus game, that's where the surplus crowd looks to play that game. They want good rifles, good whatever it is that they're buying for not a lot of money. Fortunately, like I said, those types of rifles, just these, World War I, World War II era types of rifles, like before the semi-auto, full auto, magazine-fed style rifles really took over with militaries across the world. There's a bug on my camera. Get off my camera. But those types of rifles for your cheap surplus are basically non-existent nowadays. Now, there are some exceptions. This right here is a Spanish Oviedo Mauser. Spanish rifles are not exactly sought after. Basically, any kind of country that has not served in some sort of majorly popular conflict are rifles that aren't exactly sought after, at least here in the United States. Over in, the other side of the world, who knows what's going on over there? I bet the people over there know, but I'm over here, so I do not know. Over here in the United States, Spanish rifles, Chilean Mausers, Mexican Mausers, Colombian Mausers. Mausers, there's tons of Mausers out there from all sorts of different countries all over the world, and a lot of them are not really sought after, and a lot of them you can get for not a lot of money. Like this one right here, I think I paid either, is this the one I paid $85 or $100 for? Either way, it's not a lot of money. Gorgeous rifle. Chamberlain 7.62 set me technically, but the action's strong enough to fire 7.62 NATO ammunition, and I've ran a tremendous amount of 7.62 NATO ammunition through this thing. I have paid more in ammo by a wide margin than I have for this actual rifle. This rifle has served me very, very well, and like I said, I got it for not a lot of money, so there are still military surplus deals out there, but they have to be ones that are, well, they have to be military surplus that is not actively sought after, or military surplus that is not really all that popular among the gun collecting community, etc., etc. Spanish firearms, well, I'm not going to talk about the different countries again. I've already said different countries on several occasions. But secondary country, I don't really want to say that but I'm going to go ahead and use that term. Secondary country, Mausers, rifles, some countries made Mosins, but way less common than your Mauser rifles are. Secondary meaning not necessarily secondary in quality, but definitely secondary in price and secondary in collectability. There is where you're going to find your good deals on surplus. I do not think that surplus nowadays is going to be a valid excuse for having a legitimate fighting rifle. Back when surplus was very popular and you could get it stupidly cheap, it was a good go-to for people that didn't have a lot of money. But due to the rise in prices, now if you spent just a tiny bit more money, you'd be able to get yourself something modern. Like, for example, the SKS. I remember growing up, people talking about the SKS. You'd get these for like $60 a rifle, and you would have a legitimate semi-automatic rifle chambered in 7.62 by 39. It could take aftermarket external magazines, bring the capacity up to whatever it is that you want. These right here, back whenever they were $60 a piece, were, you know, very, very, very viable for a defensive rifle for people who did not have a lot of money. But nowadays, people want $500+ for one of these things, and I tell you what, $500+ will get you, you know, entry-level slash pretty decent quality AR, depending on what it is that you're going with, the company that you're going with. You can get some pretty decent modern equipment, much more modular and capable than the SKS, than you, for the same amount of money than you can nowadays. Back whenever this was like $60 a piece, $80 a piece, $100 a piece, even whenever it jumped up to like $250 a piece, these right here are still definitely viable options. But at the price point that they're at nowadays, I would not recommend going with the SKS for defensive capabilities. It can still do the job, but like I said, for the same amount of money spent, you can go ahead and get yourself something much more modern. Now, I do think we still have some future in surplus. I'm going to say that right now. I know I've pretty much given bad news all the way up until now, but there is still some hope. Not necessarily this exactly, but stuff like this right here. There is a ton of police, law enforcement, military handguns being surplus traded, sold on the civilian market here in the United States. There is a massive, massive amount of 40 Smith & Wesson police turn-in handguns all over the place. Excellent, excellent quality handguns for not a lot of money. You can pick yourself up one of those for like $250 to $300, and normally something of that quality would range more like the $500, $600, $700 range. This right here is a Star Model BM. I forget how much money I paid for this. It wasn't much. I think it was like sub $200. Excellent quality, all steel frame, little 1911 clone chambered in 9mm Parabellum, 9mm Luger, 9x19, whatever it is that you want to call it. People always call me out on that stuff, but chambered in 9mm, not the 9mm Largo Spanish pistols that have been surplused in. This right here is the much more common 9mm Parabellum. Not exactly the greatest handgun for, you know, concealability, capacity, etc., but it is an excellent quality handgun for the amount of money that I spent on it. $200, if you get yourself a $200 handgun nowadays, you're looking at something like a Hi-Point. You know, as you start pushing into like the $250 to $300 range, you can maybe squeeze out a Taurus. This right here is definitely a much better quality gun than both of those. Don't get me wrong, I like Taurus, I like Hi-Point, I like them very much actually, especially at the price point that you're getting for a brand new gun that you know is going to function, has a warranty, etc. But the quality of the materials used in this handgun right here vastly exceeds the quality of materials used to make the Taurus and the Hi-Point. Surplus handguns are definitely going to be a wave of the future, especially now that we have the United States adopting a new handgun, new sidearm. I'm expecting M9s to get sold on the surplus market for not a lot of money whenever they're inevitably dropped out of military service entirely. Well, I don't think they're going to be dropped down entirely, at least not in my lifetime or your lifetime, seeing as there's branches of the military, you know, special units and whatnot still rocking the 1911. But you see what I'm saying. We're going to have a lot of M9s on the surplus market. I imagine they're not going to be a lot of money. Handguns are the surplus wave of the future. There's one more thing. The United States is looking to adopt a 6.5, 6.8 caliber cartridge, something that is a bit more powerful than the 223 that can, you know, touch out to further distances. Basically something that is an in-between of the heavier 7.62 NATO and the 5.56 NATO. They want a good in-between intermediate cartridge for the intermediate cartridges. Once that happens, I'm not sure what platform they're going to adopt. This right here is just like they're in the process of looking and seeing what's available. You know, they're in the process of determining what's going to be happening, so I'm just entirely doing speculation here. But I'm expecting a lot of parts kits to come in from the United States military. AR-15 pattern, M16, M4, etc. Once the 223 has been replaced, if they adopt a new platform, I'm expecting a lot of different parts kits to come in. I'm also expecting a lot of surplus brass ammunition Ammunition is one of the biggest things that we're probably going to get surplus from the military. Not necessarily going to be what everyone wants, military surplus rifles, but we will get a lot of surplus ammunition, especially if the 223 is dropped and adopted, and they adopt a 6.8, 6.5 caliber cartridge, or 6.5 millimeter cartridge. Not entirely sure what their prerogative is on that. I know they're looking at 6.5s. I know they're looking at 6.8s. 6.8 is looking like that's probably going to be their go-to. But we're probably going to have a lot of 5.56 brass and 7.62 NATO brass on the surplus market whenever those have been replaced. So there is some sunshine and rainbows out there. Unfortunately, it's not the sunshine and rainbows that people want. People want to hear me say, hey, guess what? Mosins are back in stock for $80 a piece or $60 a piece, or you can get a crate of 30 of them for 250 bucks. Go out and get yourself 5 crates. Have fun. That's not going to happen. But we do have some surplus handguns, and we do have some surplus ammunition potentials, and we do have some surplus parts kits potentials. They're going to be parts kits and not like full military rifles like what we have with the Spanish Mauser and the SKS here. These right here are semi-automatic. They're compliant for civilian ownership here in the United States, but a lot of your box-fed quote-unquote assault rifle style weapons that the military utilizes have full auto capabilities. So they are technically machine guns and cannot be sold off to civilians here in the United States. They would have to be, the receivers would have to be destroyed. They'd have to basically be turned into parts kits and stuck on semi-automatic receivers in order for the civilian ship to own them. I imagine if we had a massive surplus of those come into the country, somebody out there would get on that bandwagon and start making semi-automatic conversions of these rifles. They'd start building the rifles out of these parts kits and selling them to the civilian ship, and they would be everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and I imagine that they would not be a lot of money. Alright, hopefully I didn't break too many hearts here, because I hate breaking hearts. As fun as it is, I hate breaking hearts. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down below. This is entirely my speculation. Who knows what's going to happen 30 years in the future? We might adopt some sort of laser weapon for all I know. 30 years in the future, humanity may not even exist with what's going on right now. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? This right here is, like I said, entirely my speculation. This is where I see the surplus market going. I hope we have some sanctions get lifted. And I hope we have some Mosins and some Mausers and all sorts of goodies coming to the country for not a lot of money. But like I said, we have already seen a lot of these different rifles coming to the country, and they're charging, like for example, the Enfields, number 4s and number 1s. We've seen a massive surplus of those coming to the country. And you used to be able to pick those up for like $50, $60, $70 a piece, but now they're more like $400 a piece despite the massive amount of them inside the country. Carcanos, those used to be $40, $50, $60 rifles every single day of the week. Now the cheapest bottom of the barrel Carcanos is like $250 to $300, depending on who it is that you're getting from, the condition, whether it's sporterized, etc., etc. So, yeah, cheap surplus, that's a thing of the past. Alright, well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Description down below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go ahead and go check that out. I have things to do today, so you guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garand. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.